Welcome back to the Green White Checkered podcast. I am Andrew. I'm joined with Zach and Drake today. We had an elimination weekend. We eliminated Joe, but honestly, he'll be back next week. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of news. We got some race stuff. Let's get to it. Let's start with the first thing we had this week. We had the schedule come out finally after weeks and weeks of, just waiting, getting some rumors here and there. How are we feeling about the schedule? Zach, what do you think?
My biggest problem is probably what I assume is everybody's biggest problem, or the main complaints you're probably hearing is, well, one, taking Daytona away from the end of the regular season championship, to finish the regular season with. I thought everybody loved that. I think that was one of the few things that we talked about before. That was one of the few things that is like universally loved, which is so rare. Everybody loved that. Like everybody hated that they moved it from 4th of July at first, but after a few years of seeing the intensity in that race, it's like, okay, this is a good decision. So moving that sucks. I'm not a fan of that. And then I also don't like adding Atlanta and another road course to the playoffs. Not a fan of adding 2 new wild card races to that. I don't like adding more luck into what is already somewhat of a gimmicky format. Like I've been kind of coming around to the playoffs, thinking that they're great and good and all that. But now you're throwing a new drafting track in there. I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Those are my 2 biggest complaints. So I'm trying to like sort of check myself a little bit and realize that next year is all jacked up because of the Olympics. So maybe some of this weird stuff we're seeing is sort of related to that. And like they have to shift stuff around. I hope my one concern also is I hope Iowa gets a fair shake. Like I don't want to see they're talking about this on DBC a little bit. Bob Pockrass was on there and he was saying about how they're putting it at Iowa this year just as a placeholder from Montreal, but he's like it's not really fair to Iowa. Like I don't want to go there one year and then have us leave and go to Montreal the next year. So I would hope that there's some sort of deal that we're at Iowa for at least a few years. But what do you guys think?
So you mentioned 2 super speedways, right? And the
Drafting
playoffs
tracks, as we call
championship.
them. Yeah.
We also added Watkins Glen. So now we have 2 road courses. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, especially being like the first 2 rounds, right? So the first one you start with Atlanta, then I think it's Watkins Glen, and then you go in the next one, and I want to say it's Kansas is the first race.
Kansas,
and then
Dega, Roval.
Oh man, that's rough.
So Kansas is the first like real race, and then we're back at a well, when I say real race, normal standard race, and then we're back at Talladega.
I mean, you got to think the intent's to have more diversity through the rounds, right? You know, what I mean, that's at least where my brain goes with it. So you got in the first round a super speedway, you got a road course, and you have a fast short track with Bristol. Next round you're going Kansas, so cookie cutter, essentially a little bit, still like 1.5, I guess. Another draft track at Dega, and then another road course. Last round is where things get a little bit not quite as. I mean, Homestead's a really unique track, I guess. We have Vegas, which is a cookie cutter, Homestead, then Martinsville. So you got a basic 1.5. You got Homestead, which is pretty unique, and then you have Martinsville, which is a short track. So you got to think that's the intent, is just to have more diversity in the schedule for each round. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. If they were able to figure out, I guess my main qualm is kind of what Zach mentioned, having the randomness of super speedways in there each round. Like that doesn't quite feel, or like for the first 2 rounds, that feels a little weird to me. Obviously, you have guys who are particularly skilled at those tracks, like Denny or like Joey's pretty good at them too. But except when he tries to push anybody. But I think that. I don't know. I don't hate it apart from the randomness of that a little bit, but it's still not the worst thing I've seen. I don't feel super strongly against it. I think I'm just that's my main qualm, is just the super speedways.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of them. But I mean, I guess to argue with myself, to play devil's advocate with myself here for a second, I think this this, if anything, you could argue this puts more emphasis on the regular season than before, right? So like we're looking at Martin Truex Jr. and how we're just all laughing at him. Just I think his best finish in the playoffs is 15th, but here he is still making it to the round of 8
I think it
because
was
of all the
17th.
playoff points. Is it 17th? He's done
I think
terrible
so.
this whole playoffs, but here he is making it to the round of 8 just off of those playoff points. He's gotten a bye in the first 2 rounds. So I think it's having another drafting track is just going to put more emphasis on that, and you're going to want to build up those playoff points throughout the regular season to give you that extra room, right? Like it sort of reinstates the importance of those points, and I think everybody needs to pay attention to what Martin's doing. You think we'd figure this out by now too, especially if stage cautions are going to come back. Maybe we do go for the stage points more often than we try to go for the wins, just because you want to try to get that playoff point because they're so valuable, as we can see. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love the idea that it can just like take somebody out that I would argue shouldn't be going out. But then again, if they shouldn't be going out, then that means they're performing well throughout the year. If they're performing well throughout the year, they should have playoff points. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I could go back and forth with myself.
So notable schedule changes though. First 2 races, Daytona, then Atlanta. It's kind of rough. And then
Yeah, they said, I don't know if you heard the explanation on that one, but I guess they don't like so say if we get any new fans in for Daytona and then we go wherever we went this year. What was the second race this year? Was it Fontana?
Fontana or Phoenix.
Wherever we go like Daytona and then somewhere that's not a drafting track. So I guess they're trying to retain any potential new viewers you're getting in Daytona by like showing them here's another plate style track. I guess that's the logic behind it. I don't know.
Like,
but then your third week you're going somewhere else anyway. So it's like you're delaying the inevitable.
I mean, isn't that how the schedule used to go? At least from what I remember, went Daytona then Atlanta.
Yeah.
But that's when Atlanta was,
there was
1.5 cookie cutter, not a mini super speedway.
Yeah, there was a stretch of time when that was the case.
Yeah, that's a really weird thing to me, is to go back to back drafting tracks like that. Like I don't get that move.
It's weird that we do these things. Like, I mean, I guess you're not adding a drafting track, so it doesn't really matter. But just the idea that you could destroy 2 cars 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Like, and we talk about trying to save teams money. This car is more expensive than it sounds like ever. Like, people keep talking. I want to know how much an old car costs because I don't know. But they're talking like this car is more expensive. Denny says this thing's like $300,000-$400,000 a car. So it's like these things ain't cheap. And again, I don't know what they are relative to the old car.
Well, I don't know. It sounds like he doesn't really know either, Denny, whenever he was talking about that. I don't know too if, well, I don't want to speak on stuff I don't know, but I wonder if it is the car itself is more expensive because you're essentially buying it from NASCAR versus before you were fabricating a lot of your own parts. So I wonder once everything kind of went all in, cost of everything, where that ended up. Like if that's the number, Denny was like, oh, it's now 350K, it used to be 35K. It's like, really? Like I don't know if I believe that. Like,
did he say a number? I didn't listen to that podcast. I just know he said it was like 350 or whatever.
I only listened to the best podcast out there, which is ours. But
that's
I
right.
do remember seeing a clip, and I'm pretty sure he mentioned it, or it was a tweet or something, or an X, where I swear he mentioned it was like 35,000. Again, I could be completely wrong, and he never said that. But I you buy a used Toyota Camry for 35K. You don't buy a.
I could see a rolling chassis being that cheap. Maybe not that cheap, but I could see like a full rolling chassis being cheaper, just because like I know like sprint cars and stuff like that, a rolling chassis is relatively cheap.
Right.
What gets where the expense really comes from is the motor.
Which I don't think they're buying. They're not buying these motors from NASCAR, but they're buying.
No, I think it's the same. I think it's the same motor deals before. So like you could build your own chassis and then you buy a motor from Rick Hendrick or whatever, or Toyota, depending what your manufacturer is.
I just can't imagine that NASCAR does all this to cut costs just to make the car literally 10 times more expensive. Like it may be more expensive, yeah, but I guess I don't know how much I buy that.
Well, like what you're saying is when you're building it in house, you can kind of control the costs. When you're not, they just are what they are. You can't do anything about it.
Good point.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it might not, there might not be a huge cost differential like on paper, but you have more control. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, of course, also
Maybe there's options to buy used parts and stuff like that. Maybe that makes
yeah.
things cheaper. I don't know.
Also, I'm sitting here saying I know more than someone who's actually in the sport.
Right.
You know,
Owns race
but-
cars.
which we do, since like I said, we're never
Yeah.
wrong. But
That's right.
I don't know. So I'm sure I sound like a freaking idiot to anyone who knows anything. But
It's just without
I
that
don't know.
context of knowing what an old car actually is.
Yeah,
It's hard to say is $350,000 for these cars is a lot or not.
and I feel like someone else would have said something. I know Denny's one of the more critical people, like with a podcast, like who's actually a driver owner. But I don't know. I feel like that would have been like more people would have been talking about how it was 10 times more expensive than the old car if that was really the case. But I don't know. I'm not arguing it's not more expensive. But anyway, regardless, the point is 2
Yes.
weekends in a row where the car is going to get torn up, risking getting torn up.
Yes.
Does that change how these guys race? Like are they going to go into, if they wreck in Daytona, are they just going to hang out in the back because their team owner tells them to? I guess if you're a smaller team,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Well, and I think kind of what I say how much I hate Atlanta, but I think kind of what makes Atlanta good is they run it in the summer and it's slick and handling's a bit of an issue. So now you're going to run it in February?
February.
And
It'll
it's
still
going to
be
be
warm, but not.
well, I don't know how cold
It's
it gets in Atlanta.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Well, I don't know. It
Maybe
can.
they'll get more stands though, because more people in the stands. Because I think I remember hearing like people complaining that, or
Oh, yeah.
one of the justifications for empty seats is it's just so dang hot. So I don't
Right.
know. Maybe they'll sell more tickets. We'll see. But I mean, I told you guys it's funny. I go back and every year I've been watching these old races, and Atlanta, relatively speaking, has always struggled with attendance relative to all the other tracks. So it's kind of interesting.
I do have to run. We have a piping issue here at our place tonight.
Who's your
So,
survivor pick?
oh gosh, can I message you because I still need to look
Yeah,
at
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I don't want to take 20.
No, this
20
is
minutes
more
to be like,
important than your leaking pipe.
yeah, you're right.
No,
The
just
plumber's about to get here, but
yeah, just try to message me then.
my notes from the Roval in person. It was a great crowd. Do I remember much of the race? No, but it's still a good crowd turnout and a good race. So that's my notes. And he's here, and I'll see you guys later.
Have fun.
Take it easy, Drake.
Thanks. Bye.
Later.
So another change would be Bristol to mid-March. I've gone to races at the end of March in Bristol, and it snowed. So I don't think moving it up is the best thing for us, but could be wrong. Richmond,
Yeah.
late March. It's also Easter Sunday.
Is it a night race?
It is a night race, 7 o'clock.
Good.
Yeah.
I miss Bristol night race or Richmond night races.
Yep. Yeah, so that's, I guess, nice. The only problem I'm seeing is short track, cold. Or we have too much grip.
We just have to accept that short tracks just suck now. Short tracks and road courses are just terrible. And they can play with different downforce components or whatever all they want, but until you actually take mechanical grip away from this thing or add horsepower, you're not going to fix it. So and it's the same thing I want people to remember when we watch Iowa is it's not the track's fault, it's the car's fault. So let's not get too excited about it's terrible racing. It's just I don't know. We got to get through it with this car. Wait for them hybrid engines to come out, and then we'll finally get our horsepower back.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw today, they did announce that they will be doing short track testing at Phoenix in December.
Oh, good.
So they're going to continue working on the short track package.
Did they say
they figure out something?
Did they say what they're trying? Probably everything but adding horsepower.
Everything adding horsepower and making smaller tires is my guess.
Yeah, that sounds like it's
basically
a no-no
what
thing.
they need. Let's lift up the cars. Fuck it. I mean, we need to do something.
Yeah. I mean, you watch them old races. Like these things, I didn't realize it until I forget when, but I saw like a side shot of like a COT and like just seeing how lifted up that was, and like the back end of it was all lifted up. And it's just like every year, every generation since Gen 4, the cars have gotten lower to the ground and more all the way around. Like the Gen 4 had a big gap, from the ground to the bottom of the rear bumper. The COT brought that down further. The Gen 6, even further. And then we eventually got rid of that ride height rule, I think. And then the the Gen 7, it has that diffuser and it's right on the ground. So it's like, I think that has something to do with it. What? I don't know. But I mean, I think as far as these things go, rip that whole diffuser off. Like, everything, all the underbody aero stuff, rip that off. Anything that generates overbody aero, take that off and see what you get from there.
I'm not opposed to. We got to do something. But,
Yeah.
I mean, they're making the moves, right? At least they're doing the testing. They know there's a problem. So maybe
Yeah.
we get lucky. They fix things. I'm not gonna hold my breath. Like, we've seen them
Yeah.
fix things before, and it didn't go well. So
I still think the only way you're gonna fix it is power or grip being taken away, but whatever. We'll see what they do.
Yep, 100% agree. And see, we moved Texas to April. They lose their playoff date. They're now,
Good.
I think it was mid-April. It's Texas, right?
It's Texas. It's gonna suck.
Iowa Father's Day, like you said, hopefully they get a fair shake at it. I'm excited, but I don't know. I'm gonna limit my expectations. Again, we already know the short track package is not great, so it's
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, and I do hope that after this season, if it does put on a good race, they actually consider it for future dates instead of
They
just
have
going to
to.
Canada and saying fuck Iowa.
Yeah.
They don't have to. I mean, we got rid of Road America, which was the highest attendance for a race.
But Iowa's actually
3
a
years in a row.
NASCAR owned track. Like, you gotta do
Is it?
something with it.
Did they
I
buy
thought
it?
they said that.
Okay.
I thought they said that on DBC. I'm pretty sure Bob Pocker said that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misquoting, but I could have sworn he said NASCAR owns Iowa.
Everything on DBC is correct, so you're right.
Well, they have Bob Pockers on there, so that's
Okay.
that's why I'm citing them so much today.
Good old Bob.
I don't trust them
I'll
guys, but I
trust
do trust Bob.
I will trust Bob.
Yeah.
So then we got Nashville at the end of June. Is now a day race. That's gonna be a hot one.
Hot.
Yeah. Good
That's
luck
the place
to
that had
everybody that goes.
they had that big kerfuffle about water bottles and all that stuff, didn't they? Like, you couldn't bring coolers in, and the lines were ridiculous.
I remember that being Texas, but maybe I'm
I thought it was Nashville, and I think Texas had a similar issue.
Oh, you're right. You're 100% right. Yep, it was Nashville, and then there was the one dude, and I can't think of his name.
There was that Randy the plumber douchebag.
That's the guy, yeah. And then
he
he goes
made
to
a big
Texas.
Think about it. Then he
where
gets
it's
hot
hot
passes.
and all this. Yeah, he gets hot passes, and everything's fine. Yeah.
What a dick.
Sell out. Indy Oval official. I mean, we kind of knew it was coming.
It's gonna suck though. Like, I'm so glad we're going back to the Oval, but let's be honest, it's still gonna suck because it's just not built for stock cars. It's just you can't change it. But I'd rather be on the Oval than the stupid road course. Ideally, I'd like to go to IRP, but if we're doing Indy, I'd rather be on the Oval, even if it's not gonna be a great race.
IRP be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, plus there's so many better road courses if they were going to do a road
course. Who wants to win on the Indy road course? The IndyCar doesn't even care about the Indy road course. Like, if you're going to Indy,
that's it. Like,
if you're going
Michael
to
McDowell.
Indy, right? Them guys care because it's another road course. But like you said, if you want to go to a road course, go to a road course.
Yeah.
If you're going to Indy, the whole draw of the place is the big track. That's the whole reason why everybody loves it. That's where all the history is. That's it. It's the Oval.
Yep, 100%. I do not know
what the quality.
Yeah,
we do apologize for the video quality. We're new at this. Drake's not.
Yeah.
Drake's usually in charge of the stream, and
it's my turn, and it was literally a 5-minute hurry the hell up and go thing.
Yeah, it was sort of a last minute thing because he's got some plumbing issues. So we're just making do this week.
Yep.
And Joe, I think, is at like a Kyle Busch fan rally. I think is where he's at.
Yep. That's what he was saying. That he just really loves Kyle Busch, and in fact,
yeah, I love Kyle Busch so much. I just
there he is,
such a big fan.
Thanks for calling in, Joe. Appreciate you. Have fun. Give me an autograph, please.
The only other thing that I really noticed with the schedules is trucks at Pocono. It's interesting to me. It is. They put on a good show there, and then they didn't. They removed
Oh,
it
really?
a while ago. Yeah.
Huh.
So I think that's all three series now. 4 actually. I think Arca runs
it gonna
it too.
be-
So
Is it going to be what do you call it, triple header or whatever?
I think so.
Companion weekend with all 3?
Yep.
Hmm.
So big weekend there for Pocono, which they
my
have the
home track.
attendance. Ooh, there you go.
There you go.
We'll have to get in the infield.
Get my media passes.
Yeah. So, what up, Thomas? Sorry about the video quality. It's my fault. Other really big racing news here.
Tom!
NASCAR and iRacing have announced a council game in 2025, meaning
Huge.
motorsports
video quality is
games
bad, isn't it?
is gone. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the video quality.
We're live from 1987.
Like, it's so weird. I show 0
We're coming in
frame
at
drops, everything.
120p.
Yep. Here,
Gee
I'll
whiz.
pause it real quick and we'll talk about the